I think I wanted to talk more about Tesla on this story because of the recent 60% price drop over the course of the year, and in particular the price right now. I mean, what is it, 124 right now, $124 per share? It's an insane drop from a company that we thought might just hold on, but it's a lot of this has been down to famously Elon Musk. I did not want to bring him up, but he is literally too big of a story to talk about this year. He's done a hell of a lot of things, and indirectly or directly affected Tesla's share price. But I don't think it's anything to do with Elon Musk. It is to a point, obviously, but Tesla's share price has, I'm gonna say it, mean reverted. It's come back to where it should be. It's come back to its earnings estimates and its sales estimates, whereas before it was ridiculously overpriced. And I think I said this 2 years ago that this would happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen. I think my predictions, tune in next week, would say that I thought it was going to happen in a couple of years. But I always thought eventually this price was going to meet its earnings. And I think this week, that's what it's done. It's met that. I reckon all of the discounted cash flow models are bleeping in people's offices right now, saying that Tesla right here is a buy, depending on how you feel about Elon Musk, which is the next part. You can disagree or agree, and I'm sure you will. But what I want you to do for you guys, I want to ask you guys how you think Tesla's share price has got to here, because I think I've made it quite clear how I think, or I can make it quite clear how I think Tesla's share price has got here. But there's definitely two different narratives out there, and I'd love for you guys to touch on that.
I'll go first on this. Then I haven't conferred with Steve on this, so we may say the same thing, or we may have wildly different ideas. But I'll take your word for it, Paul, that it's kind of mean reverted. I haven't looked at the numbers particularly on that, but clearly it's come down a long way from being very, very high. So why has it done that now, then, I guess is the question, rather than in sort of 2 years' time? Well, one answer is rising interest rates and DCF calculators and so on. But look, Tesla never looked really... Anyone could do... You didn't need a DCF calculator to say that price was nowhere near those earnings a year ago. Even if you weren't sure how much it was out by, it was clearly far too high. So what suddenly caused people to start wondering about that? Well, I think it's a combination of two things that go into... Elon Musk no longer being able to distract people from the fact that Tesla's share price is way above where it ought to be. So this year they've done a stock split, for instance, for no reason at all from what I can see of it, other than plausibly because the last time they split the stock it went mad. But trying to pull that trick again to distract people and suggest and try and plough money into this thing is, to my mind, a sign is running out of ideas a little bit in terms of trying to keep people's eye away from Tesla and exactly how far ahead of its fundamentals that share price has run. And I use that phrase advisedly. I'm not at all writing off the idea that its fundamentals will get there for what it's worth and that this will look cheap in the future. Maybe. I don't really have a strong enough view on Tesla. But I think for now the kind of Elon show has no longer... we also had stuff about... Was humanoid robots this year or was that last year?
Yeah, this year.
It feels like one distraction after another, basically. And the distractions have become increasingly less plausible to me. So I think the sort of steam ran out a little bit on that, and all of a sudden we started to look for valuation support because humanoid robots and share splits didn't cut it. Steve?
Well, I think you guys know my feelings about it, in that Elon's attempts to distract people from the Tesla share price and basically make it more of an Elon show has really just sort of like shown what a wally he is. And I use that word very, I don't like to call him a wally.
You're going to get us demonetized here, mate.
But he is, as you'll know, if anybody who's on the Discord, they'll regularly know in the meme section, I'm sitting there winding up Moggy about the recent thing Elon has said and Elon has done. They're often very far apart from each other. He likes to say one thing and do something completely different. And I've got about 1,000 of those saved.
Something like spend 50 billion on Twitter stock and then not actually want it and then do it anyway.
Well, look, Elon's going to love the fact that the Tesla price is down 69% this year. That's literally one of his favourite numbers. So he'll be sat there giggling away. This will be right up his street. But there are a number of problems at Tesla, and this is the fundamentals of Tesla is still trading at 38 PE. People think that's cheap. Well, that's actually 4 times what the average car company sort of P ratio that they will get. They usually trade at between 8 and 10. So when people say, well, it's not going to come down to 15, well, 15 will still be a 50% premium to what the other car companies and let's not lie to each other. Another year has gone by and Tesla is still a car company because it did 95% of its revenues in car, and the other 5% it lost money doing other things. So it's a car company still. And the humanoid robot was, as Steve reminded me, was just a joke. It was just an absolute joke. Like, it just looked terrible. It looked like C-3PO in like the 80s Star Wars films or whenever they came out. It just looked awful. So yeah, I'm not into Tesla, and I've not been into Tesla since I owned the Tesla. I think it's got, the car has got considerably worse over the period that I've owned it, and the sort of like, the excitement that you get, the rush of when you put your foot down and it just zooms off. Like, after a while, you're like, right, this is not as interesting anymore. I remember when I first got it, I thought, I'm never ever going to get bored of this, and now I am bored of it because if I put my foot down, it loses 5 miles over a mile. So, and I need that battery to get places. So,
but just one question though on that one. Just one question on that one. Have you got back into a standard ICE car and driven one of those and brought yourself back down to earth at all?
We don't have any ICE cars at work anymore, so we have a BMW i3, we have Hyundai Ioniq 5, I think it is, and they're both EVs, and they both have the exact same, ooh, this is fast feeling, I'll soon get bored of that. Tesla just has less things in it, and more things that fall off it, and more rain in the boot. So
I'd just be very interested that if you by the way Steve obviously works for the man that owns all the gold in the world, but I'd be very interested to see you get back
Putin.
into a standard car. You know, I'd love you to get into a Toyota Yaris and drive it and go, oh yeah, look at the torque on this.
I won't be seeing Deadly Yaris.
Maybe you should, every now and then just come back to the poor people and drive one of your cars. Just put
you won't drive one of your cars. Yaris is poor either.
my wife has an EV. She has a Vauxhall Mokka E, and that is, getting in that car is like getting in the past. Like the sat nav, it looks like it was drawn in Microsoft Paint and things like that. You do get in the Tesla and think it looks so much better, you know, the screen. But the thing is that you come to realise with Teslas is that you're paying for the batteries, which are markedly better than not markedly, they are better though than the BMWs and the Hyundais. The iPad screen and the software on that is very, very good, and the power that you get from, you know, when you press the accelerator. That's what you're paying for. That's all, though. But there is nothing else in a Tesla except like the odd fart machine, and you know the voice controls are pretty good as well. But they were very good in the BMW as well. So when people say the competition is coming, and people look at things like the Mokka that we've got outside, they would say, well, Tesla's streets and streets ahead. But when you actually compare the Tesla to the Ioniq 5 and the BMW, which they are like they're newer models, they're newer cars. You start to think to yourself, well, hang on a second, that gap is starting to,
But also on price, right? The Chevy Bolt has come out, and it's markedly cheaper, and a lot of people now who want EVs in America are buying the Chevy Bolt. They are picking up that car for half the price. I think it's half the price, and they're getting an electric vehicle with relatively good torque, you know. I mean, everyone in Silicon Valley who hates him is moving over to Chevrolet.
But I don't want to do too much because it is part of. I have a bear case for Tesla next week. It's in my predictions, just to give a quick spoiler. So I don't want to go over it too much, but that does form part of my bear case. Insofar as I think Elon has alienated a large part of his consumer base, and I actually think the rest of the consumer base has just been fired. So I think there is quite a large gap there. But the other problem is as well is that the Chinese companies are actually starting to make their way into the EU as well. So you've got your Neos and you've got your BYDs and you've got your is it called Grand Peak or Giant Peak or whatever it's called. They're all starting to do the same model that Tesla is. So it's a you order it, roll on roll off delivery, and it arrives at your door kind of thing. So I do worry about Tesla in Europe. I think they're probably going to be okay in the US. And I mean, like, let's not forget that what Tesla's done is incredible. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, if we were sat here and you were saying Tesla was going to be at whatever it's at $400 billion valuation, we would have laughed at you because the automotive industry is just impossible to break into. So Tesla does deserve credit for what it has done, but from here, I think it gets a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I think I agree that the current ICE companies out there, Ford, Chevy, BMW, would not be VW would not be transitioning over to electric as quick as this to keep up if it had not been for Elon Musk and Tesla. But I think what we wanted to, or at least what I wanted to get over on this one, is that I don't think that the current dip or the current drop in Tesla's share price is solely down to the seemingly idiotic decisions that Elon Musk has made this year. We started the year by, he's largely veering to the right, and he was talking about bringing Donald Trump back to Twitter and protecting free speech, and that's the argument there, at least on FinTwit, especially with the Tesla bulls. The Tesla bulls are out there saying why is he embarking on this project when he's got a company that is slowing in growth and increasing in competition. It's arguable whether Tesla is slowing in growth. We'll certainly get onto that a different day. But he's also shown a little bit of stupidity this year. Up until this year, you could say that Elon Musk probably was a genius, and he played it very well. Everybody loved him. I think even all three of us, to a point, loved him, loved what he did. But then when he started this Twitter thing, he bought sort of 8% of Twitter, I think he did, and then he wanted to sell his shares. So what he did, he tried to get their share price up by offering out the ability to take it private for $54.20. A joke. Like, what is going on? This is serious stuff. And he waived all due diligence and seemingly didn't realize that he entered into a binding contract that he was going to be forced to buy this company. He didn't realize that. It was very poor foresight and very poor. I don't know how people on the Discord and on Twitter are arguing this. How are they arguing that this was foresight? The one thing that they do come up with is that Twitter is Tesla's only advertising platform, and to a point, I kind of understand that. That's Elon Musk was the sole customer service provider at Tesla, which was an incredible thing to do, and relatively smart thing for the time. But he's moved this far ahead. I tried to do a little digging on his leveraged shares of Tesla, and it turns out 40% of his shares are leveraged on margin, and he could get margin called on them, but they are leveraged quite a low price. I think he leveraged these loans out against his properties and things very, 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 very early, and he's even sold a lot of those properties, so that's already been called and repaid. Those loans have. So one of the worries was that he's putting Tesla's share price at risk here, and a lot of people are still arguing that these are the reasons why Tesla's share price is dropping, and I disagree, and I think you guys disagree as well. I think there's genuinely a Tesla Tesla bear case here, where Tesla was priced to perfection with its high multiple, and now the future isn't looking so certain. A lot of the other bets haven't started to pay off. The large what am I looking for? The Tesla Semi has also been found to not have enough miles to travel across the country now. It needs 800 miles rather than 500 miles, so it's now only a short haul semi. That's only just come out this week as well. So things aren't going as perfectly as the share price first said, and that's what I think is the problem here.
Well, there's full self-drive as well, isn't it? That's coming under massive regulatory
Absolutely.
scrutiny as well. That's just the other day that it was found that it travelled across a lane on a motorway and slammed on the brakes for no reason whatsoever, which I can tell you, I've got full self-drive.
I can tell you that's happened.
It all the time.
Yeah.
It does it all the
it does
time.
it all the time.
Yeah, it could see a rock in the road and it will slam on the brakes. You know what I mean? It's it's madness, really. And it's frightening to have it on. I mean, I've had it before where it's forgotten to turn corners, but I actually think the braking is the worst thing because it's frightening. It is a frightening thing, and you could see why that would cause accidents. But the problem is that. Look, I don't think this is a Tesla only problem. I think full self-drive is going to go through all of these kind of problems, but Elon has put himself and Tesla in the spotlight now, and he's kind of a target there, waiting to be brought down. And I think the government will make an example of Tesla in this full self-driving, releasing it when it probably shouldn't be released, making people pay for something that is in beta and is essentially being tested. I think is something that probably shouldn't be allowed. And I would expect that the government will clamp down on this. And this is part of my bear case moving forward, is that I actually think Tesla are doing okay with the full self-driving. I think there's some aspects of it that work really, really well. But I just don't think... I think it's going to be in the political spotlight next year, and I think it's an easy win for it's an easy win for the Democrats, who pretty much all of their party hate Elon Musk right now.
Yeah, what is that all about? I never really got that, but that also gives him political clout as well, and it gives him a lot to talk about. A lot of random speculation that he can just randomly write on Twitter, and everybody believes all of a sudden. He can put up really vague, slightly insinuating posts on Twitter, and all of a sudden everyone just goes for it.
This isn't new. I mean, this isn't new. He called the British guy who tried to save was it the Thai kids who got stuck in the cave?
Yeah, called him a
pedo.
Didn't he?
You know what I mean? Like that didn't happen when he bought Twitter. That happened before. This isn't that it's that this is not something he hasn't done before. It's just been amplified by the fact that he now sees himself as the head of Twitter, and for some reason thinks he needs to tweet more. Which the Tesla shareholders
Constantly
must be sat there going, "Please stop tweeting because you're not very good at it." Do you know what I mean? And the problem is that he's alienated pretty much. I mean, like wading into a political debate when you have a car company that's the vast majority of your customers are left-leaning people who see EVs as something that will save the world. Like wading into a political debate and going, "Goodbye, you people who buy my products. I'm going to reinstate the patriarch of the other side of the political debate that you guys hate so madly." It just feels like one of the stupidest ideas. We're going it's one of those moments where you imagine the people on the Tesla board of directors, if they actually had anybody with a backbone, would have been sat there just banging their hands against their heads, going "These are our customers." Do you know what I mean? And you're alienating them.
I think that's the last thing, isn't it? Without trying to shit on Elon too much, he doesn't realise. He doesn't know, does he? He's in a yes man bubble that's wrapped around him, and he doesn't know that there's this little bit of bubble building up. That I don't think the world hates him as such. You don't seem to be too much of a fan. I'll still give him his dues. He's done wonderful things, but right now he's acting like a bit of a child, and he's a bit weird. And the Dave Chappelle thing was clear that he did not realise that even people who go to Dave Chappelle shows don't really like him. But I just couldn't believe that he didn't realise. And then to do the Twitter poll to ask whether he's gonna leave, and he said he'll stand by it. And then obviously he doesn't like the outcome of that. So I think he did it twice, didn't he? And then on the second time, the outcome still came out unfavourably for him. So he decided to say, "I'll find someone when I find someone as stupid as me," basically. And what is he doing?
Well, my prediction, I think I made it a few weeks ago. I don't think he was actually on the show, Paul, but I said I think Twitter will be a Google, Facebook, or Amazon product within the next 6 to 12 months. That's not an official prediction, but I just thought at the time it looked like a disaster. It was a disaster. it was proving to be a disaster, and it was getting worse day by day, that I just thought he was going to cut his losses on this, especially as the Tesla price kept coming down and down. He's getting closer and closer to that margin call. I thought he's just going to ship this off, because he's just realised this is just, this is just not something he should be in control of. And that has proven to be the case, but unfortunately he's going to give it off to somebody else to run, which seems to me like they'll just be the front of the company, and he'll be whispering in their ears exactly what they've got to do. But yeah, I'm not particularly interested in that, but we'll see.
A lot of people are seeing this as an investment. So a lot of the Tesla bugs were seeing the Twitter acquisition as an investment to say that this is going to be Tesla's main advertising arm. But he also needs to keep speech, and therefore I assume he has to keep advertisers for other car companies on Twitter as well. So it serves as a massive paradox. The whole his whole story just serves as a whole massive paradox, and I just can't get behind him at the moment. I wanted to buy Tesla, I think at 120, 130, because I thought that was where the discounted cash flow models go. But with this competition creeping up, and I'd love to hear your bear case here, because I think you've got a very similar one to me, although I haven't written it out probably as articulately as you have. I just think there's too much uncertainty now to give it such a premium.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, my bet is that the PE will contract on it. I actually think Tesla's earnings will be okay going into the first quarter of next year, but I think from that point onwards, I think they're going to get particularly worse, especially as the economy continues to unravel.